Welcome to Educators with Oil. I'm your hostess, Ronnette Branham, here to offer biblical strategies for effective teaching. Today, we're going to be talking to teachers and specifically retiring teachers, or not necessarily retiring, but uh, you have to look into retiring. What are you going to do when you do retire? Are you going to be financially stable to retire? So we have two financial experts. We have Stacey Sweeney and Regina Lewis, and then we have a homeschool mom, Stacey Johnson, and we have two more coming in. That's going to be Helen Hickmon and Dominique Willis. So if you want to say hello to our uh, listeners, and then we'll get right into it.
Okay.
Stacey, you want to introduce? Okay, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Regina.
Hi, I'm Regina Lewis. And Ronnette, thank you so much for allowing me to join your podcast today. I'm excited about this opportunity. Hello to my cohorts that are on here with us today. And hopefully your listeners and viewers will be able to gather some important information about retiring, especially from the educational system. So again, I'm Regina Lewis, and I am the CEO of Brightway Planning Financial Lifestyle Guidance. And what all that means is simply that I assist people with their personal financial planning. I mean, I look at budgeting. I don't do a lot. I'm learning a lot more to assist people with uh, small, investment strategies, but I do defer to the experts on that. But there are some things that I've been reading up on and kind of gaining insight on for teachers that they could do in preparation for retirement. So that's who I am, and that's what I do. And I'll just provide a little information today. So I'm going to turn it over to Stacey, I think, who's also a financial planner, and she can take it from here.
Thank you, Regina. My name is Stacey Sweeney. I'm an educator in the Atlantic City Public School System, but I'm also a financial literacy consultant. And what I've been doing in the past year is just educating groups or individuals on financial literacy, whether it's budgeting, savings. I speak to small groups and churches about financial literacy, about credit, and everything else. I want to talk to the teachers today about how to really not only still managing your credit and how that's important, but still just budgeting along with Regina, so you can make sure you're in the right position when you're ready to retire, and some important key factors that teachers need to look at before you retire, dealing with your pension.
Okay, we have Stacey Johnson. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. My name is, Stacey Johnson. I'm sorry, I'm trying to message this mic. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Oh, did you
Can you
freeze?
hear me?
I can hear you, but okay, yes.
I was asking. Okay. So yes, I am a homeschooling mom of, I'm gonna say 3.5 years. So that makes me an educator by by default. Um, I've been married now for 11 years, and I'm always happy to be here with Educators with Oil, educating with oil, to share any type of knowledge that I can contribute and also to receive.
Okay, one second. Okay, so wow. So we'll get started with Regina, and then I'm going to let you give us the tips and the strategies that we can work on, because we all plan to retire sometime, whether we stop working or not. But we plan to retire from teaching, at least in the official capacity.
Right, excellent. Thank you. Thanks again, Ronette. So yes, so hopefully Stacy and I will probably say similar things in the conversation, but I would like to start with, educators is near and dear to me. A lot of my family members, including Ronnette, who's my first cousin, and my daughter are in the educational system. And in speaking with them, and then I have my BFF, who's also in the education system, who recently retired. So in speaking with her and my daughters, this is a very much needed subject or topic for your podcast, Ronnette, because teachers are, in my opinion, and this is just a personal experience in conversation, is teachers are very much underpaid for what they do, because they're very important to our children and educating our children. But for some reason, I don't know if it's the state or federal level, they're just not paying teachers what I think they should be compensated for the amount of work that they have to do and the important job that they have. So that being said, because a lot of teachers are underpaid and they're let's be quite honest, a lot of them are struggling. They are not really looking at and they're not looking forward to the future, to the future requirements and what it's going to take for them to continue living after they retire from the educational field. So what I would like to present to your audience today is one thing that's near and dear to me. First, you got to really and truly, and don't take this personal, but take your head out of the sand. You really have to take your head out of the sand, because this is real. It's real talk. Because if you don't take the initial steps in the beginning to prepare for retirement, then you'll find that when you are of age to retirement, you just won't be able to do so. So as Stacey is probably going to share with you as well, in my opinion, the first thing you need to do is look at your budget. You have to look at your financial position. Excuse me one second. You have to look at your, excuse me one second. You have to go back out. You have to look at your personal position. You have to look at your finances, your income, and your expenses. And a lot of teachers are going to say, well, they don't really want to do that because they already think that they're in a deficit going in. But when you look at your financial position, that lets you know what you have to do. And in talking to, like I was stating, a good friend of mine who recently retired, teachers do have their pensions. Some teachers have pensions, and Ronnette, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if they don't have pensions, there is, like, I think that's what they call a 403B. It's like a retirement plan that they can pay into. And a lot of teachers, because they're utilizing their funds to live off of, they don't think that they have that extra money to put into a personal investment plan to prepare for the future. But even if you're only utilizing a few dollars, if you look at your budget and you don't have a lot of money available, but you have to do something. And I know a lot of us financial planners say, if you have to get, an additional source of income to support yourself, to help you. And a lot of teachers do, because I know some are on the 9-month or the 12-month plan. And so what they do is sometimes during the summer, they'll get an extra job to sustain themselves. But you do have to take a hard look at the process so you can see what you can do to help yourself. Because if you put aside a few dollars, because you may have to maybe not stop at Starbucks, or or go out to lunch. You might have to do some things to generate some extra income so you can prepare for your retirement. And when you look at the investment opportunities that are out there now, I do, in my research, I find that some educational systems do not allow to pay in Social Security, but there are a few states that don't allow you to pay into Social Security, but there are the majority of states do allow you to pay into the Social Security. So you'll have a pension if you are fortunate enough to have that, or you can pay into the 403B, which is an investment vehicle, or you'll be able to draw Social Security. So, and you have to pay, and in my knowledge, you have to pay into Social Security system for a minimum of 5 years before you can even have the opportunity to to be able to draw from the Social Security. But there are multiple sources and resources out there. It's going to take some diligence and some hard looking at to see what's going to work for the specific individual in achieving their financial goals going into retirement. And I must say that if you start now, the earlier you start, you'll be able to position yourself better for the latter years. So what am I saying? I'm saying, look at your budget, start budgeting, look at your income and your expenses now, lay it out, and you can do it in a simple Excel spreadsheet. I know some people have some more complicated tools out there, but start with an Excel spreadsheet and lay it out. Lay your income and your expenses so you can see what type of disposable income that you have, and then you'll know what you need to do to put yourself in a better financial position. So I'm not going to take all the time. I'm going to close with that, and I'm going to pass the mic to Stacey so she can provide some wisdom as well. Thanks, Ronnette, again.
Thank you. We're going to have some questions for you after you finish. Okay.
Thank you, Regina, for that. And like Regina stated earlier, I'm probably going to say some things that she already mentioned. So just be confirming what she said. But one thing that I love that she said was very important. The first step is start now, start early. So whether you plan on retiring in a year, 7 years, or 10 years, you need to plan. You need to plan your retirement, and planning doesn't start the day before you retire. So you need to figure out what is your expenses of your lifestyle is going to be when you retire. Can you afford to retire? Even thinking about maybe paying off your mortgage and planning that right now, budgeting and savings so you can be able to not have a mortgage when you do retire. I know what I said I was going to talk about credit. And, you know, a lot of times people, when they're retired, they're still living off their credit cards and credit card bills. So one of the things you want to do also is budget and save to start paying those credit bills off and keep it below 7% utilization. So for example, what that means is, say you have 3 credit cards and they all, the total of the max limit is $3,000 for all 3 of them, then that means 30% below that. That means you cannot, if you spend $300 or less, that's 30% or less. But I tell people to stay 6 and 7% because number one, that will keep your credit score high. That will also be able, don't spend in credit what you don't have in cash. That's what I tell people. Do not spend in credit what you don't have in cash. I use my credit cards. All my credit cards have like cash rewards. So even if I bought something that was $1.25, I'm using my credit card and I'm paying it off 2 days later because I'm trying to make money from the bank instead of them making money from me. But I don't spend on credit what I don't have in cash. So that's one of the important things I want to say about credit. If you're looking to retirement, make sure you get your credit card bills down to 0. Continue to utilize it every month because that's very important to keep your credit score up, but keep it at least 6 or 7% below and pay off what you use. If you don't have the cash for it, don't use it. Budgeting and savings. Regina talked about getting an Excel spreadsheet and figure out what your expenses are. And there's so many templates out there online. You can get a monthly expense sheet, so you can just pretty much write down all your monthly expenses so you can look and see what it looks like. And sometimes when we write things down, we get a bigger picture of what that looks like. You know, once you write it down, you get an idea what you're paying for all these expenses, even entertainment, even grooming, everything. Write it down because you need to know how much you're going to need in order to retire if you want to continue to same type of lifestyle when you were working. Another important thing for educators is to sit with a financial advisor, one with your state. I'm in the state of New Jersey, so we have NJEA, and they have they have like a retirement program where you can sit with a financial advisor, and they go into your embossed state account to help you figure out where you're going to be at if you retire next year, or where you're going to be at if you decide to retire in 2 years. And a lot of times teachers will retire, and in Jersey, if we do 25 years in the pension system, we also get our health benefits. So people look for that magical number, at least 25 years to retire. A lot of times teachers retire, they thought they had the time in, but because they didn't sit down with a financial advisor from the state to look into their embossed state account, they didn't have enough time because they forgot about when they took the unpaid medical leave that did not pay into the pension. And that time is put on hold. You don't get that time if you didn't pay into that time. So then now the person has to come back out of retirement and go back into the workforce to add up that time. So it's very, very important that you sit down with someone, you sit with a financial advisor, let them help you create a budget for you. Start now. Like I have 7 years before I reach that magic number 25. I'm already calculated when I'm going to pay my mortgage off, because I don't want a mortgage when I retire. That's one of your largest bills you're going to have, probably, is your mortgage and your car payment. So you want to make sure that you manage things properly, even looking into what is your health insurance going to look like? What is the cost for that when you retire? Because that's very important as well. Regina was talk to you guys about the 501(b). What was it, Regina?
403(b).
403(b). I'm sorry. Thank you. So the 403(b), I know a lot of that is offered to teachers throughout. They also there's also other retirement plans that you can tap into, or maybe you want to tap into putting money into an account that gets compound interest, So look into all these things. Plan your retirement. Plan your retirement right now. Even if you just got into the started teaching. For example, so with New Jersey, we have lifetime membership for the union. And that's, I think, $1,400. So once you pay that amount, you don't have to pay union dues ever again because it covers a lifetime. So anybody that just started teaching, I wish I knew about that when I just started teaching. I got 18 years in. I would have paid that $1,400 on year one and wouldn't have to pay for my union dues ever again for the next 24 years. So, sit with someone, manage your credit card bills, pay them off. Don't use it as a resource for living off of. Okay, so again, what you don't have, don't pay in credit what you don't have in cash. Keep that below the minimum. Do a budget sheet to write it down, to look at what your monthly budget is. Even a weekly expense sheet, if you write down weekly how much you're going to the store, how much you're spending for these different stores we go to, like Wawa's and everything. You get to see how much you're spending at these stores in a week or in a month. And then there's ways that you probably want to cut back on that. So I'm going to stop there because I don't want to take up a lot of time. And I'm going to pass the mic over to Stacey.
I just had to ask a question first. Thank you, Stacey. We have Dom Willis on here, and you're 10 years in, Dom, teaching?
10 years in education, 8 years in the classroom.
Okay, see, so we have that, and then we have a homeschool mom where her position is different. I know she can't even say housewife. she's a homeschool mom, so that doesn't even pay. I mean, it pays in the end, but not right now. So we're gonna ask questions maybe about how we can manipulate the system. I've been teaching for uh about 17, 18 years, but my first 10 and a half, they were outside of the pension plan. So
Right.
I was saving, and then, things happen.
When you,
But I have the 403B and I have the pension now, of course, Social Security. But there's different uh times that we're in it. We have another person, I don't know if she's coming, but she's retiring next year. So I'm gonna let Stacey talk. Maybe she has a question for you, and see if that kind of stuff is something that we need to talk about.
okay.
Okay. So yeah, definitely as you all were talking, a lot of things are I've heard about. I have no personal experience with them. I have been out of the workforce for about 12 years and just at home with my girls, and just recently started homeschooling them because now they're, school age. And then my husband does not do conventional work either. So when we file our taxes, we are self-employed. He does independent contracting when churches bring him out and have him come and minister and things like that. So we are already just so many steps outside of the general population when it comes to finances and 401ks and retirement and things like that. So already a few of the things that Stacey said just kind of resonated, just even about credit and not starting now, not waiting till later. We do have some ideas about things, especially like residual income. Like we definitely have our eyes on like rental properties and different things that we can do to have some income coming in for us when we don't want to work anymore. So I'm really more on the listening end today because although I'm a homeschooling mom, I know that just being an entrepreneur, I have a business, my husband, like I said, we have a ministry, we have a 501c3. So a lot of the things that we do are coming in from other places, and we're not necessarily giving and putting money into things that people would do if they were, receiving a check and getting that, what is it, a W-2 or anything like that. Like, so a lot of the forms and the codes, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they talking about? But I'm familiar, but so I'm definitely going to be gleaning today, and I believe that any questions that I would possibly have would be for educators, but more so for entrepreneurs, because I feel like that me and my husband, we're still not typical, because a lot of the homeschooling mothers that I know, they have a husband that is in the workforce. So, he's got all of that, lined up because it's coming out of my check, like that's that. But as far as in my household, it's not even that. Neither one of us go clock in anywhere.
I want to say something to you, Stacey, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because with Regina, she's a CEO, so she's an entrepreneur. I'm a financial consultant. I'm an entrepreneur on the side of what I do with that. And that's very important too, because when you're talking about entrepreneurship and residual income, that's where we will hope a lot of people would mindsets will want to be, but most people mindsets are not there. And that's really part of financial literacy. And we're talking about generational wealth, is creating some type of passive income and the know-it-all to pass on to your children so they can continue and to be able to have that. So being an entrepreneur, just investing, taking your money and investing in different resources that's going to help give you that residual income, but also increase your money that you're investing in to give you that money when both of you retire. Talk a lot about getting a revocable trust. And then when you have a trust, getting an IUL insurance. And these are different things that a lot of wealthy people do. They don't do the traditional things like 503B and all that other stuff. You know, they do other different things, but you know, you want to put everything you have in a trust, even your business. You want to put your business, you want to put your house in a trust, because if you put your house in a trust and whoever the owner of the trust, if something happened to you, they're not going to pay all these extra taxes and everything. The state, you know, the state cannot touch it.
Right.
So,
Right. And I'm sorry, I thought you were finished, Stacey.
That's okay. So when you talk about entrepreneurship, you want to look at things like a trust, IUL insurance, you know, and how to set those things up, and speak with a tax strategist, because you want the tax strategist to really help you guys to save on spending so much taxes, because you have a LLC. You want to make sure you got everything done, not just right, but in order to really save you money, because this is how the wealthy people do it.
Right. And one thing, Stacey, if you have time, I'm just going to jump in real quick. One thing that that I would put out there for entrepreneurs or even teachers or anyone, don't forget about an individual retirement account, IRAs. Those are a good source for you, because you can do, that's a vehicle you can utilize outside of your pension. So, and you can control an individual retirement account. You could, because a lot of banks and financial institutions will allow you to put, some of them, depending on the amount of money that you have, some of them you can open an IRA with $50. And when Stacey was mentioning compound interest, so what you do is when you open that IRA and then you're adding money to that monthly, it doesn't take a lot, but again, at least you've started something. And you can utilize an IRA, because that's what it is, individual retirement account, that will help you when in your retirement, because those funds will be available for you to utilize. In most cases, you know, there are some restrictions and some limitations, but the limitations and restrictions are set up or there for you. They're in your best interest, and I say that because it allows you to save for retirement. Because a lot of times we're not disciplined enough. If we're putting money into regular savings accounts, vehicles, that money is easy to get to. But an IRA, those restrictions don't allow you to just go in and pull that money out, because it's there to save, so you can utilize that into your retirement. And there are other things like certificates of deposits. You know, you can do those. Those will allow you to save money as you go. So look at the different saving vehicles that are out there to save money.
Sorry.
But I am I'm an advocate for the IRAs, because I think that those are, in my experience in conversation, a lot of people don't really utilize them to the extent that I feel that we should, because it just allows you, because what they're doing is you're making money. When you say compound interest, it's just that it allows you to grow your money early on. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
Yeah, and Stacey, even though like people that's in my position may have pensions and stuff being set up through their employer, it's still not enough, and people need to understand that. Because if it was enough, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur trying to tap into other resources and set things up for my grandchildren, you know. So, you know, while you have your children and you and your husband on this path of being an entrepreneur, teach your children as they go. 3 years old, that's not too young, because at 3 years old, the first word my grandson learned was retirement. And then 2 weeks ago, I was talking to him about investment, and he did a pop-up car wash. And he set the price. And these are the things that the financial literacy that we need to learn is not going to be learned in school.
Right.
And these conversations that we having right now is financial literacy. And these are the things that we need to learn so we can pass it on to our children. Because what's good if you hit for $2 million and you leave it to your children? It's not going to mean anything if they don't know how to manage it and increase it. You know, so these are the things, the entrepreneur, the retirement, and all these conversations. getting out there. There's so much information out there to even going on platforms like this or setting up an appointment with someone to ask them how else can you save the best that will benefit you and your family. So you can start doing that and take your kids along and start teaching them along the way.
Right.
Thank you. Dom, did you have a question or comment?
I think, excuse me, I'm still a little hoarse, but I think from, I guess, an educator standpoint, well, we're all educators, but having 10 years in, how can I say, the system is not necessarily set up for us to be lucrative. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, to be lucrative. And so I guess my comment would go into or speak to the teachers that don't have the ability to necessarily save, don't have the, because they don't, bring in enough within their household or income, or maybe between themselves and their spouse, if there's no spouse, just, altogether their overall income for the household. So retirement, of course, is automatically taken out of our pay, as we're paid, but anything that we will need to do additional to make sure that we're properly set up, because in all honesty, the educational system is not necessarily, within my TRS anyway, it's not necessarily accruing enough for me to sustain myself with when I get to my 25 years or plus or what have you. So I know I would need to do more than that, and consider other means. But with just my salary alone, or just any educator who has a certain salary, how do you, I guess my concerns come from this idea of, if you're not making enough money, but you need to put aside more, where are you pulling from, and remaining in education. I mean, of course, you would get a second job or try to find another way to make a means, but how do you stay in education and continue to set yourself up properly if education is not fulfilling the requirements for a proper retirement?
Does anybody have an answer or comment to that about if you don't have? I remember
one of the things is too, like Regina was saying earlier, first you need to look at your budget and your spending to see where can you stop spending at, where you can save some of that money to start putting into certain resources that's for retirement. So the first step is looking at your budget. I don't think you were on yet, Dom, when Regina and we were talking about like a monthly budget sheet, writing it down sometimes, or looking at it and filling it out on an Excel sheet. You get a big picture and a big look at how much your lifestyle is in a month and what your expenses are. Even when it comes down to when you're doing your budget, you need to count in what's your entertainment. If you like to entertain, like go to the movies or whatever, what does it cost for your nails? What does it cost for your hair? Writing everything down of what you spend. I had people write down a weekly expense sheet. And I did that because I wanted people to see how much they spend at certain places they go to every day, like Starbucks and Wawa's and stuff like that. When we're going to these places, our brains don't calculate like an Excel sheet. So if I go to Wawa every day and Monday I spend $5, when I go there on Tuesday, and I spend $7, my brain did not total $12. It's saying it's only $7. That's, it's just only $7. That's not a lot of money. It's only $7. Okay, now count that up for a week. Multiply that by 4 weeks. You done gave Wawa's $300 in a month. So where can I stop spending so much at? Yes, coffee, you just can't cut coffee cold turkey, but is it cheaper to buy coffee and do it in your house and leave your house with a coffee mug instead of going to my husband? I think he's addicted that he just had to go to Wawa's. We just left the house. We got a Keurig in the house. Why do we have to stop at
Yeah. So,
Is
but
that the name of
I
the
hear
coffee
that.
place?
Who is
Is
that?
that really the name of your coffee place? Wawa? Is that what it's
I'm
called?
sorry. So
Yes,
Wawa's
yes,
is,
yes.
I'm in Jersey. So, and Wawa is like everywhere.
Yes.
Every 5 blocks, you're probably going to see a Wawa. But
It's like a
Wawa.
Circle K or something
Yeah.
like that, like a
it's
Circle
like
Yeah.
K.
Wawa or Starbucks, you know,
Wow.
McDonald's. But just those, you know, even like with McDonald's and stuff like that, you know, I have my grandkids, Mimi, can we go get McDonald's? Okay, tomorrow. Mimi, can we go? I'm like, but I'm not thinking about it. So
And
we're
McDonald's isn't cheap.
right. If you do a weekly expense sheet to just calculate your spending habits, I'm talking about spending habits that unconsciously we don't think about.
That's true.
And then you take that weekly expense sheet and figure out in a month the places that you go to every week to give money to. Wawa's, McDonald's, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, you will see that you gave them too much money.
Absolutely.
And so say you, that's probably like $500 right there you can cut back on that you can invest in retirement. Or you can invest $200 in retirement and put $200 towards the principal of your mortgage to cut about 3 or 4 years off of that.
Oh, that sounds good. We have Helen Hickmon in here, and she's
Hi, everybody.
retired. This is her last school year,
Oh,
right?
yes. Oh, yes. And I'm so looking forward to leaving. Yeah.
Is there something else that she could do to even help with this last school year?
But this year, last school year, we were talking about Helen, Regina and I, that start now looking into your budgets and everything now. And I teach in New Jersey, so they have.
So why?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
NJEA has a retirement program, and a guy named is Dave, but he can come and sit and look in your inbox and tell you where you're at and what you're going to be looking at when you retire.
Yeah. You know, I had a conversation with, I teach in Patterson.
Okay.
So
All right.
I had a conversation with Boone. She already gave me my, you know, what I'm going to be getting and all that. So, and I'm looking to move as soon as I retire because
your time, make sure your time is right. Make sure
it is
have in your system that yes, it's going to be 25 years at the end of this year.
Yeah.
What I was speaking about earlier, we have some people that don't get that advice or have somebody and look at their inbox and they forgot that they took a unpaid medical leave that didn't pay into the pension.
Right.
So when they thought they had 25 years, they retired and realized they're not getting the health insurance because they're 6 months short or they're 2 years short. And
You're right.
Now they have to find a job to get back into
to
make up that time.
Yeah. In our PEA, Patterson Education System, they gave us various retirement workshops. So I'm pretty much like I'm going into my 26th year.
Okay.
June will be my 26th year. So I have the years, I have the age. And
that's another thing people need to understand. Even if you don't have a work for an employer that where it's a pension system like your case, Stacey, in your state, like what is the age? Well, you guys are entrepreneurs, but you know, you want to look at what age do you want to retire? What age do you and your husband want to retire to make enough money for you and your family now to just go enjoy life? How much will that cost?
Yeah, and we will have to do that math. And it's so funny because when I think about retirement for us, like the type of work and the way we live now, honestly, is like a lot of people live in their retirement. My mama tells me all the time, I can't wait till I retire so I can travel with y'all. You know, my husband, he's called all over the country and we do that traveling now. So even like thinking about retirement, it's like, what do we do then? So this is definitely
residual income. So
yeah, I mean
that's just but it's going to constantly keep coming in, and you're living a life like a retiree that is an entrepreneur, basically.
Yeah. And then one thing that I think does set us apart too, and can make these conversations about finances or the cookie cutter way to do it is also we're not just regular entrepreneurs, we are ministers of the gospel, like, so, and that is literally how we are being paid. So that's different too. Now, if we had a pressure washer business, or we sold cookies or glazed donuts, it may still be easier to okay, this is what we make this week. But when I say we are being hand fed by the Lord, that's exactly what I mean. And then even when everyone was talking, I was thinking about, like, well, wow, one of our financial plans is tithing. And I know that when we talk about, when you get deep in the financial world, on a secular level, we're not talking about that. And then sometimes some believers you talk to will be like, okay, that's fine, but okay, still do this, which I understand too. Which I understand too, but I'm just speaking up for the small group that may be in my group, and Ronnette, I think this is amazing how you just literally got the combination of women that you have on here today. It's so beautiful. But even for us, like, knowing that week by week, month by month, that God is truly providing on us for that. So sometimes it can get a little frustrating and scary to think so far ahead when we are literally faith walking, like, and God is providing. Like I said, my husband, when he does the testimony, he likes to say we have, a real car, a real house. Like, we got square footage, and we have vehicles, and we got 5 children that we support, and then myself.
That's living kingdom. Okay, so with my church, I'm the I guess you could say I minister when I talk about the kingdom principles. And I spoke with Ronnette. I shared it with Ronnette before. So I speak to a couple of churches about building, financing the kingdom. That's what it's called. And we came up with 3 principles of God's way of obtaining wealth, and what the first principle, the prerequisite, first of all, is to change your way of thinking. Let God change your way of thinking when it comes to money. That's the prerequisite. And then the first thing is the giving. And in that giving, I talked about tithing very heavily. That's tithing, that's your alms giving. And I talk about giving as your first principle. I talk about second principle is managing the money that God has given you. The money that God is providing you, you have to know how to manage it. Don't be like the ones that he gave money to and one went to bury it.
Right.
That's fair. No, you got to learn how to manage it. Because when you manage God's money right, then God is going to give you favor. And the third one talks about investing, because in Ecclesiastes, God said invest in 7 victors, maybe 8, because you never know what disaster may come upon a land. Remember, I read that to you, Ronnette?
I just remember that.
What we just had was a pandemic. Woke up and the whole world was shut down. That's what God meant, because we never know what disaster will come upon the land. But if we already have followed those principles, we would have been able to benefit off that disaster.
Amen. I agree. And then I'm going to say this, because even while you were talking, I thought about another passage of scripture when the man who stored up in his barn, and that's all he did. That's all he did was store in his barn. And God said, "You fool. Your soul is required of you today." And that's all you have done. You just saved. That's all you did. And so, I thank God for his principles. And I'm like, I know it's sometimes, depending on the group you in, it's hard to bring God in when we just, talking about finances and codes and filing and papers. But he is truly the policy that we are standing on right now. But at the same time, we are as we are able to receive, you know, different type of just, you know, knowledge and different type of ways to do things that's applicable, and then not allowing ourselves to be frustrated that we might not be able to do this at this time or do it like this at that time. Cousin Regina, I'm glad you brought up the IRA, because that's not something that I had been introduced to, and just knowing that we can start something like that very small, you know, and put into it, and that we're not able to take it out. Like that's, you know, those are things that we need too. So sometimes, hey, if God said, okay, yeah, go ahead, start your IRA, and something comes up, then he's gonna provide another way. Because our flesh should say, let's go get that money that we got right there. But it's like, no, that's not rainy day money. That's leave that money alone money. So so I was taking notes too, but yeah, so no, I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
So Ronnette, I want to jump in real quick, and I see Dominique went on. I jump in real quick. I just got 3 things that come to mind as we were speaking, and one of them is when we were talking about when Stacey was talking about the tithing. Okay, for me, and what I tell people that I talk to about personal finance, I put my tithes as an expense. I treat it like a car payment. I treat it like a mortgage payment, and right off the top, it's listed there. So because I don't think I do, I'm a firm believer in tithing. So I think if you list it as an expense, then it's already accounted for. So I think that's one of the things that I encourage people to do. Second of all, I wanted to speak on Dominique when she was talking about if you just don't have the money, you're scraping by and you're doing all you can to stay afloat. What I say to her and people in that situation, and first of all, you got to trust and believe God through the process, as Stacey was saying, because we all have to be stewards of what God has blessed us with. But I say to you, don't fret, don't get discouraged, stay in the game, do the very best as you can, and pray your way through it, because your circumstances will change. What will happen is, as you pray, things will come to you to do, and God will guide you through what you'll need to do to get yourself out of that situation. So, and don't think that I gotta do something, I gotta save, and I gotta do this. You do, trust me, you do have to do those things, but you have to live, and I don't want you to fret over that, because once you do start looking at where you are and start planning, things will get better, and then you will be able to exercise the things that Stacey I'll say number 1 or 2, there's 2 of them that we're talking about, because it'll allow you to be able to invest your money and grow your funds and save for retirement when you do those things. But just take it step by step. And then I think it's Helen. I wanted to speak to her because she's about to retire. Yay for you. I just retired in January. So I know sometimes we're a little apprehensive about it, and I know you're looking forward to it. But one of the things that I do, and I want to encourage you and other people that might be listening, when you go into retirement, of course, we're not going to have the money that we had when we were working. First of all, unless you have a business or whatever and you set yourself up like that. I know I did not. But let me tell you, I'm trusting God through the process. I'm a budgeter. I write everything down. I know when my money's coming and when I'm going. And I just want to attest to the fact that I haven't missed a beat. And so if you budget and do your finances as you go into your retirement, you won't miss a beat. I tell you, I feel like I'm doing a whole lot better than I was when I was making 2 times what I was making before going into retirement. So I just want to encourage you to continue to do your budget. Have fun, though, because we got to live, and God wants us to have his best. So have fun, but continue to do your budget and watch your funds, and you'll be okay going into your retirement, because you already said you already know what you're going to have. You've already looked into it, you've done your due diligence.
Yes,
and
I have.
You know what you're looking at going into retirement. So continue to, if you're not budgeting, do your budget and continue to just watch your funds, and then watch God move, and watch yourself grow through the process. And that's
I believe it. Thank you.
That.
I appreciate that.
And Ronnette, I have a monthly expense sheet that I created, or Helen, or anybody that's on, if they want a copy.
Oh, please share that. Please share that.
But, I'm gonna put my phone number in the chat.
Okay.
And just give me a call, and I can share that with you.
Okay. I appreciate that. That's very good.
Okay. And Helen, did you have something that maybe you did before? I don't want to hold everybody longer. Something, a comment or something that you did that helped you prepare for this retirement this year?
Well, I've just basically been putting some monies aside ever since I started working. So I have a little bit set aside there. Plus, I have a house that I'm going to sell in order to move south. So those things are in the works. Yeah. So that's basically my husband. He has his Social Security. I'm not old enough for Social Security yet. So like I said, I'm just going to trust and believe God is going to sustain us. And, I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to, do what I need to do to move it along.
Okay, thank you. I thought I know we're gonna leave in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
I thought about what you said, Stacey S, and I thought about Stacey Johnson when you were talking about the trust, setting it up. I've been taking some, I have a group that I'm a part of, and we have speakers all the time, and they're talking about setting up trust so that it'll be there for your children and set them up as the beneficiary. And they were talking about taxes and how to pay less taxes like the rich and all that, like what you were saying. That's a whole other program, a whole other episode, and that's something that I'm looking forward to. So I just had to say that. So Dom, you have any more comments? Anybody want to a last comment from everybody? We'll just go around. I hope everybody's screen is the same as mine.
Yeah, this is very good. I appreciate getting asked to come into this because I really wasn't aware that we had these type of discussions. But yeah, I am ready to get into another life because it's been hard. And everybody says to me, who they know I'm a teacher, they're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I did what I could and I'm moving on. Yeah.
Down.
Yeah, so I think that I'm listening, and of course I'm always going to be the the I guess elephant in the room or what have you. But so as I'm listening and I'm thinking about my colleagues and how we're on, I guess, the younger side, we have a little bit before we consider we really get into the meat of retirement. And you can definitely get lost. My comment is trying to keep up with all the jargon and the things that and I'm hearing the budget and the spreadsheets, and as we're younger, there's so much as being a teacher alone in a classroom, our days are like super packed with things that but I think what I'm getting is that you have to want it. You have to want more for for your life. And so going back to my colleagues and listening to what I've heard so far, when we do have people come in to speak to us about different options when it comes to our retirement as teachers, I think that we have to, even though we may be lost in jargon and lost, and it seems overwhelming, I think that we just have to have the idea of just starting, just start, just consider, just open your mind to what a goal is. And then once you set a goal, do the micro step. And I say micro because they're, literally steps. So, but I appreciate everybody's insight. And yeah, I think I have some great things to push forward.
Is it my turn? Okay. Yeah. So, I believe that me and Dom are closer in proximity. I think, but Dom, you millennial, right?
I am.
Okay. So yeah, so we definitely tracking together, just we being, a little further from retirement or thinking about it. But the last thing you said was literally what I was gonna say. Like, I think what my biggest takeaway from this is just like doing what I can now. Just what I can though, because it's immediately completely overstimulating and overwhelming to think about everything that I need to do or can do that can make our landing as smooth as possible when we talk about, being over the hill and ready to raise grandchildren and things like that. So
I'm not over the hill. Right,
You know, I was like, oh, well, it ain't a bad hill. It's a good hill. It's a beautiful hill with flowers and a lake at the bottom. You know, it ain't a bad hill. It's a gorgeous hill. So, but so just that part, and I think that's literally, you know, the conversation that my husband and I are gonna have. Like, even when I get off of here, it's like, hey, like, what can we do now? That's not overwhelming. That's not discouraging. Because, like, even in my life, if just even things as simple as, you know, like trying to eat better, working out, it's like, what's applicable to my life right now that I can do that I can do? Because thinking about everything, I'll just stop. I'll just sit there and won't do anything because now I'm just stimulated and I'm overwhelmed. Right. So, Ronnette, like, I think this is amazing. Your platform is amazing, but this one, having, you know, as many guests as you have on and just coming from different, you know, places, even in the country, different generations and different places in life. This was so beautiful. And I just saw you smiling. Once we started dialoguing, you were just sitting there cheesing. I'm like, oh, she happy. And because she accomplished what she knew and thought that it would do. So I'm always blessed to be on this platform. I'm always humbled and grateful when you call, and I am ready to respond. So so thank you. And thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Regina.
You're
Okay, I'm going to jump in real quick. You are mostly welcome, cousin. And thank you, Ronnette, for having me. I think what I'm overjoyed about is to hear you say you want to start. You're going to see what you can do, even if it's small, but you know that you have to do something. And you're right. When you're talking finance, I've been doing I retired as a deputy of the budget of financial management division. For 40 years, I did that. So this talk, financial jargon comes easy.
Very easy to do.
And I understand all of that. But as I hear from a lot of people, what simple steps? What can I do? How do you simplify it to make it easier for me to do something? So if you start doing something, if not just $50, like we talked about in the IRA, and just adding to it, or whatever you can do something. That's the important step in the process. So thank you, Ronnette, and I'm excited as always to be on your podcast and what you're doing for the teachers. You know, hats off to you. It's phenomenal and it's much needed.
Yes, we need it. Definitely need it. Yeah.
Thank you, God, for planting that seed in you to move forward. It is, and for you to jumping on board and doing it, because a lot of times we get scared, we go to the left, but you stepped out, and so kudos to you for activating that.
Yes.
Ronnette, I want to say thank you for having me on this platform again of yours. I enjoy it. It is a blessing and it is a ministry. And thank God for your passion to even minister to get the word out like this, because it's much needed. I want to say you're welcome, Stacey. And, you know, yes, the thing is to just start by either putting something in, but also make a plan. Have a plan. God said, write your plans down and your thoughts will be established. So you need to have a plan first, so you know what direction you need to go. And so you need to know how you should start. And retirement doesn't necessarily have to start when you get 60. My grandson told me he's going to retire at 25 and he's going to take care of me. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah.
No, man, but those words came out of his mouth. That's what his plan. If he continue on the kingdom principles, on God's word, that can happen. It's not that it's not impossible and it can't happen. That can happen because that's his plan. You know, so write your plan down and just take little steps that you are able to handle. And as you take those little steps and just ask God in faith to help you along the way, you will slowly see as you grow, God is going to grow you in those areas financially.
Thank you, everybody. I was getting emotional. I started at Stacey Stacey Johnson, when she said she's going to get with her husband today and discuss a plan. And that was like, I just felt that, because that financial literacy, and then moving on it. And I appreciate everybody, and I'm glad we had the different levels of educators here, and even Stacey is an educator also. So, and then financial educators. I love it, and this is like what I thought it would be, and more. And I appreciate you coming out. And I just have one scripture: a wise man thinks ahead. Proverbs 13:16. A wise man thinks ahead, a fool doesn't, and even brags about it. So we're going to think ahead. And we have enough wisdom right here to take it and run with us. So, again, thank you. And again, this is Educators with Oil. I'm your hostess, Ronnette Branham. And again, I want to thank all my guests. And remember to take your oil with you and have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, ladies.
Bye, everybody. Nice meeting you.